And now to suggest that the competitors in the market can't surge price when we've been having this whole conversation about free market economics and all of this sort of stuff, it just sort of boggles my mind. So if the opportunity in the rule is good for the goose, it seems it's good for the gander. And I think we need to attempt to equalize this process as much as possible. And if surge gouge pricing is good for the market and good for the consumer, then I think everybody ought to be able to do it. So I'm going to be voting for this.
Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you. Director Pius, I don't see how this is bad. This is good. This is at least a step in a direction to get us where it has been purported that we're trying to get to. You know, this level playing field thing, fair. How is it that we're going to say that potential conventioners, when they come to Houston, they want a rate that they can rely on? Well, we've had testimony just recently that there were surge pricing 4 times the rate. And that's okay, and that's still going to be permitted. So the cab industry are going to be required to do their metered rate. They cannot modify it. They cannot charge less, they cannot charge more. But the T&Cs are allowed to charge less or more just based on the market at that time. How is that competitive? Isn't that just an absolute grant of a monopoly there? We're going to simply put cab companies out of business here if we don't allow them to compete and fight back. To some extent, I mean, we've handicapped them enough. I mean, they cannot deploy but so many vehicles. They're limited. T&Cs can just do how many they want, how many drivers they want. And now we're going to control the competitor's price on one hand, and on this end we're going to say, you know, surge, do what you want to do. How is that even representative of fairness?
May I respond?
Please.
Chris pointed out to me that what our goal and throughout this ordinance has been that there be fair certainty. This provides the fair certainty for the public. So as I said, that was my first blush reaction. Once we had that conversation, I agree with you.
So you support this particular amendment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to take my hat off to you. Thanks to News Board for running down, twisting the screw here. Because it was very helpful. I think that we have to have the discussion, and when things hit the table that make sense and fit in and strengthen it, we have to do just what you've done and say, you know what, this is a good thing. So I commend you, Chris, thanks for running, error in there, because it's going to be difficult for some of us. We're about to move to the main item in chief here. And there's some of these things here that may or may not make a difference as to how people are going to vote. So thank you very much. I fully support this. Councilmember Martin, thanks for putting this together rapidly. And I hope we do pass this. Thank you. Ms. Pius, thank you also.
I want to point out that Director Pius was making an accurate statement in that, yes, many conventions do base their decisions on hotel rates and taxi rates and everything else. I don't think it's a deal killer, but she was not opining on necessarily the language in here. And as long as we all understand that it is about knowing before the cab gets there what the rate is going to be, we agree it's the marketplace that's coming. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor. And Ms. Pius, thank you for wanting to support this. I think this is good. I also thought we already had this in the language. If in fact an individual was registered as a permittee with the T&C, whether it's the yellow cab app, Uber cab, whatever, wouldn't they still be deemed to fall under the guidelines which would allow for surge pricing or whatever?
No, currently only the T&Cs and the MDSs could have surge pricing. It was not allowed for taxi cabs.
Okay, so this provision is required in order to make sure that yellow cabs will have that opportunity to do so.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. And Councilmember Martin, thank you for offering this. I think maybe the taxis might be able to work another day here in Houston. So I appreciate it, and I hope my colleagues support this. Again, we're talking about fair and market and competition, so I think this gets them to a step to where they can continue to be the good business partner in the city of Houston.
Director Pius, if I may ask, I know that big companies, as I said, I already have a Yellow Cab app on my phone. It is the small and independent minority cab companies don't operate that way, and those would be the ones that would be might be competitively disadvantaged by this.
Yes, Mayor, unless they can associate with one of the existing companies. Get Ride offers MDS services for taxi cabs, so many of them should affiliate with that. We have 6 registered MDSs right now. Any of them could provide those services for you.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And I would argue that if you don't have an app and you're one of those companies, you better get one now. It should be out of business soon. And the point of this is you cannot have selected free enterprise. You cannot have free enterprise by convenience. You have to have free enterprise across the board. Every jurisdiction, every business, and I think this levels the playing field a little bit. So I appreciate everyone's support.
Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may ask Councilmember Martin, this only applies to the cabs that are to the application. So if a hailed cab still has to adhere to a meter rate, correct?
A hail a cab has to adhere to the meter rate, hail on the street.
Yes, yes, sir.
If you use the app, then the pricing that we're talking about now, surge pricing, can go into effect.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you. Councilmember Martin, while we haven't agreed on everything today, I will say, and at least it appears this may be the last amendment, if it is the last one, I do very much agree with you. I think this does level the playing field, which is something we all truly do want. And I think the way you've stated it, it works. Now, whether that's good for the goose and good for the gander, or the dog that wags the tail, I mean, I began to feel like I was at Bark today, clapping on and clapping off. But I think this is good, and I think it gets us where we need to go. Thank you.
There are no other council members. There are no other council members in queue. So we're moving to a vote on the amendment offered by Councilmember Martin. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries.